It was a
Right.
quiet evening in the city.
Is everything okay?
The streets were
With
busy with
the
cars
paperwork?
and people rushing home. The sky had turned orange, and a gentle breeze carried the smell of street food. Marcus, a calm and careful man, was driving home after a long day at work. He loved these drives. They were his little escape. He turned on his favorite music, a soft jazz track, and tapped the steering wheel with a smile. Marcus noticed a red light up ahead. He slowed down carefully, making sure he didn't cross the line. But as he moved forward, he suddenly saw flashing lights behind him. A police car pulled up, and the siren made him flinch. Marcus sighed. He had been careful all day, yet here he was. A young policewoman stepped out of the car. Her uniform was neat, her badge shining under the streetlight. She walked confidently toward his car, her boots clicking on the pavement. Marcus rolled down his window, trying to appear calm. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice polite but firm. "Do you know why I stopped you?" Marcus shook his head. "No, officer." "Was I speeding?" She glanced at her notepad. "You were a little over the speed limit back there. Just a minor violation. Can I see your license and registration, please?" As Marcus handed over the documents, he noticed something strange. The officer didn't just look at his papers. Her eyes seemed to linger on him for a moment too long. He shook off the thought. Maybe he was imagining it. While she typed his information into her computer, Marcus fidgeted. The street around them was full of noise-honking cars, people talking, but it felt like they were in a quiet bubble. He tried to focus on the music still playing in his head, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this stop was different. Finally, she looked up from her notepad and smiled slightly. Then she said something Marcus did not expect. "If you weren't married," she said, her tone teasing, "I'd give you my number." Marcus blinked. The words hung in the air. He stared at her, unsure how to respond. A part of him felt shocked. Another part felt intrigued. He cleared his throat. Thank you, officer," he said, forcing a polite smile. She shrugged and handed back his documents. "Here's your ticket. Drive safely." Marcus took the ticket, still trying to process what had just happened. He drove off slowly, glancing in the rearview mirror to see her standing there, watching him leave. His heart was racing. Why did she say that? Was she joking, or was she serious? As he drove, his mind wandered. He thought about his wife, his life, and the little boundaries he always tried not to cross. But he couldn't stop thinking about that smile, the way she looked at him. Something about the moment felt electric, like it had pulled him into a story he wasn't ready for. He tried to shake it off, telling himself it was just a harmless comment from a police officer. But deep down, Marcus knew this stop was not going to be forgotten easily. Every turn he took, every stoplight he passed, he kept thinking about her words, about her gaze. It lingered, like a shadow following him. Meanwhile, the policewoman returned to her car. She adjusted her uniform and watched Marcus disappear into the traffic. Her thoughts were equally conflicted. She knew she had crossed a line just a little, but something about him had caught her attention. She couldn't explain it. She made a mental note to be careful, yet a part of her wondered, would she see him again? And that was the hook, the spark of a story that neither of them would forget. The night was young, and fate seemed to have a plan. Little did Marcus know, this unexpected stop was only the beginning of something far more complicated, far more intriguing. Something that would pull him into a world of tension, temptation, and unanswered questions. As the city lights blurred past, Marcus clenched the steering wheel a little tighter. He didn't know it yet, but the evening had changed him. And somewhere in the distance, the policewoman smiled knowingly, aware that this was only the start. Next morning, Marcus woke up with the words of the policewoman still echoing in his mind. Her voice, her smile, and that unexpected comment, "If you weren't married, I'd give you my number," kept replaying like a song he couldn't stop humming. He sipped his coffee slowly, staring out the window. The city buzzed below, but his thoughts were somewhere else entirely. He tried to focus on work, but every little sound reminded him of the previous night. A car honking outside, a siren in the distance. Even the office printer seemed to echo her teasing tone. Marcus sighed. He was married, and he loved his wife, but there was something about that moment that made his heart beat faster. Meanwhile, the policewoman, Officer Taylor, was also thinking about him. Back at the precinct, she pored over her paperwork, but her mind kept drifting. She remembered the way he had looked at her when she made that comment. Not flirtatious, not rude, just surprised. There was something honest about his reaction, something that intrigued her. Later that day, Marcus had to run an errand downtown. As he parked his car near the busy street, he noticed a familiar figure leaning against a lamppost. His heart skipped a beat. It was her, Officer Taylor. And she was looking right at him. She noticed him noticing her. A slow smile spread across her face, teasing and confident at the same time. Marcus froze for a moment, unsure whether to wave or pretend he hadn't seen her. He decided on a small nod, hoping it seemed casual. "Marcus," she called softly, just loud enough for him to hear. He blinked. How did she know his name? Had she checked the ticket already? He felt a mix of embarrassment and curiosity. "Officer Taylor," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Good morning." She leaned casually against the lamppost, arms crossed, and gave him a look that was both playful and serious. "Morning," she said. "You've been on my mind, you know." Marcus laughed nervously, shifting from one foot to the other. Same here, I guess." There was a silence, charged and heavy. Cars passed by, people walked past, but in that moment, it felt like the world had slowed down around them. He felt a strange mix of attraction and guilt, while she seemed to enjoy every second of this awkward tension. "You're married, right?" she asked suddenly, her voice low. "Yes," Marcus admitted, a little too quickly. "I am." Her eyes softened for a moment. "I know, I like honesty. That's all." Marcus felt a wave of relief. And yet, the moment wasn't over. She stepped a little closer, close enough that he could see the subtle details of her expression, the hint of mischief in her eyes, the soft tilt of her head. He realized then that this encounter wasn't random. She had noticed him too, just like he had noticed her. It was like fate, or maybe just coincidence, bringing them together again, testing boundaries he didn't want to cross. Suddenly, a horn blared from the street, snapping them back to reality. Marcus chuckled awkwardly. "I should get going. Errands, you know." Taylor smiled faintly, her eyes lingering on him. "Yeah, see you around, Marcus, maybe. Don't be late next time." Her tone was teasing, but there was a seriousness underneath, a tension he couldn't ignore. As Marcus drove away, he couldn't help but glance in the rearview mirror. She was still standing there, watching him leave. And he knew, without a doubt, that this was just the beginning. Something was building between them, subtle but powerful, like a storm on the horizon. Both of them went about their day, but the memory of that meeting refused to fade. Marcus wondered if he'd see her again, and Taylor thought about him, wondering if he felt the same pull she did. Neither of them realized that this tension, this awkward and electric connection, would soon lead them into situations neither was ready for. And just like that, the city carried on, unaware that two lives had brushed against each other in a way that would change everything. The question lingered in both of their minds. Would they resist the temptation, or would the tension grow too strong to ignore? Marcus was running late that afternoon. The city streets were crowded with people rushing home from work. He had planned a quick stop at the grocery store, just to pick up a few essentials. Little did he know, today's errand was about to change everything. As he pushed his shopping cart through the aisles, he noticed a familiar presence. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but no, there she was. Officer Taylor. She stood near the fresh produce section, casually checking her phone. The same smile, the same confident posture, and those eyes that seemed to see right through him. Marcus froze for a moment, heart racing. Here we go again, he thought. He tried to appear casual, pretending to examine apples, but his eyes kept drifting back to her. Taylor looked up and caught him staring. Her lips curved into a playful smirk. She didn't look annoyed or surprised, just amused. Marcus felt a mix of excitement and panic. How could they keep running into each other like this? He decided to take a risk. He walked toward her, keeping his voice calm. "Officer Taylor," he said, trying to sound casual, "I didn't expect to see you here." Taylor looked up from her phone, raising an eyebrow. "Marcus," she said, her voice soft but teasing. "Funny running into you. Twice in 2 days. Are you following me?" Marcus laughed nervously. "No, just coincidence, I guess." She studied him for a moment, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Coincidence, huh?" she teased. "Or maybe the universe thinks we need to meet more often." Marcus felt his cheeks heat up. He wasn't sure whether to laugh or turn away. He could feel the tension building, the kind of tension that made your stomach twist and your heartbeat quicken. "Can I help you find something?" he asked, hoping to break the awkward moment. Taylor tilted her head, pretending to think. "I'm looking for apples. But maybe I'm also looking for someone to talk to," she said with a grin. Marcus's mind raced. Should he play along, or should he retreat? But before he could answer, she added something that made his heart skip a beat. "You know," she said quietly, "about what I said the other night. I meant it in some way. Not everything, but some things. Just don't get too excited." Marcus blinked. That one sentence carried so many emotions, teasing, curiosity, and something deeper, something neither of them could name yet. He smiled, a little awkwardly. I understand. Thanks for being honest." There was a pause. The grocery store felt strangely quiet. He could feel her gaze on him, steady and intense. Marcus knew that even a few words could start something he wasn't ready for. Then, the sound of a child laughing nearby snapped both of them back to reality. Taylor shook her head slightly, smiling faintly. "Well, I should finish my shopping. Don't get into trouble before I see you again." Marcus chuckled, feeling the weight of her words. "I'll try not to," he replied, though he wasn't sure who he was convincing more, her or himself. As he pushed his cart away, he glanced over his shoulder. Taylor was still there, casually browsing, but she kept sneaking glances at him. It was a silent game, a dance of curiosity and attraction, played without words. Marcus realized something important. This wasn't just a random encounter. Something was building between them, a connection neither could ignore. He felt a mix of excitement, guilt, and fear, all in equal measure. By the time he left the store, Marcus knew one thing for certain. This encounter wasn't the last. Fate, or whatever force was guiding their lives, had plans for them. And neither Marcus nor Officer Taylor was ready to resist what was coming next. As he drove away, he couldn't stop thinking about her words, her smile, and the way she made him feel. Something had started, something unpredictable, and it was only going to get more complicated. The tension was rising, and with each passing moment, the question loomed larger. How far could they go before the world noticed? The next few days were quiet, or at least, that's what Marcus told himself. He went about his routines, pretending that the grocery store encounter had been nothing more than coincidence. But deep down, he knew better. Every time his phone buzzed or a message came in, his heart skipped a beat. Meanwhile, Officer Taylor couldn't stop thinking about him either. Every traffic stop, every paper she signed, even the mundane parts of her job seemed dull compared to the memory of Marcus's eyes, the way he smiled nervously when she teased him. She told herself to stay professional. She reminded herself that he was married. But some part of her, stubborn and restless, refused to listen. One evening, Marcus decided to take a longer route home, walking past the park near his neighborhood. The sun was setting, casting long orange shadows across the streets. He hoped a little walk would clear his mind, calm his thoughts, and push away the tension he couldn't escape. As he rounded the corner near the park, he froze. There she was again. Officer Taylor. She was leaning against a lamppost, casually scrolling through her phone, but the moment she looked up, their eyes met. Marcus's stomach twisted. How could she keep appearing at the exact places he went? Was it coincidence, or was she doing it on purpose? Taylor's smile was soft this time, different from the teasing smirk he had grown accustomed to. "Marcus," she said quietly, walking toward him. "We keep running into each other. Maybe it's time we stop pretending it's random." Marcus swallowed hard. He knew this was dangerous territory. His mind flashed to his wife, to the life he had built, to the vows he had promised to honor. And yet, there was something magnetic about Taylor, something that made him want to forget all the rules for just a moment. I don't know what to say," Marcus admitted. "Every time we meet, I feel confused." Taylor nodded, her expression serious now. "I know, I feel it too. But you're married, and I respect that. I just want to understand you better. Is that wrong?" Her honesty hit him like a wave. There was no pretense in her voice, no game. Just raw, quiet curiosity. Marcus felt the walls he had built around his heart begin to crack. They started walking together slowly, talking in low voices. Marcus spoke cautiously, revealing little details about his life, his work, his family, the pressures he faced daily. Taylor listened intently, occasionally sharing small things about her own life. She spoke about her challenges at work, her loneliness on long nights of patrol, the frustration she felt in a world that often underestimated her. The conversation was simple, yet intimate. Each word seemed to pull them closer, even though neither of them crossed the line. Marcus felt a strange mix of relief and danger. He was opening up to someone who shouldn't have known these things, and yet it felt natural. Then, Taylor stopped suddenly. Her eyes softened. "Marcus, I don't want to make this harder than it is. But I can't pretend I don't notice you, and I can't pretend I don't care. I have to be honest, even if it's complicated." Marcus felt a pang of guilt and longing at the same time. I care too," he admitted quietly, almost to himself. "But I can't let this go too far. I have responsibilities, a life I promised to protect." Taylor nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I know, and I respect that. But some things can't be ignored. Not when they happen this way." They stood there in silence, the city sounds fading around them. The tension between them was undeniable, charged with curiosity, attraction, and unspoken desires. Both of them understood that their connection was real, dangerous, and complicated. As Marcus finally said goodbye and walked away, he felt his heart heavy, torn between his loyalty and the pull he couldn't explain. Taylor watched him go, a small, almost sad smile on her face. She knew this was far from over. The questions, the tension, the temptation, it was all building, and neither of them had the control to stop it. And that was the truth. Their lives were now intertwined, their secrets lightly shared, and their confessions whispered in the fading evening light. The story between them was just beginning, and neither Marcus nor Officer Taylor could predict where it would lead or how far they would be tempted. A few days later, Marcus was driving home after a long day at work. The streets were alive with evening traffic, lights reflecting off wet asphalt from an earlier rain. He was tired but glad the day was over. All he wanted was to get home, make dinner, and forget about the tension that had been building inside him for days, but life had other plans. As he approached a busy intersection, a cyclist suddenly swerved in front of his car. Marcus slammed on the brakes, narrowly avoiding a collision. His heart pounded, and his hands shook on the steering wheel. He leaned back, trying to calm himself, when he noticed a familiar figure running toward him. It was Officer Taylor. She was out of her patrol car and moving quickly, her uniform slightly rumpled from running. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. I think so," Marcus replied, still shaken. "That was close." Taylor knelt beside his car, examining the situation. "You were lucky," she said softly. "That cyclist came out of nowhere." Her eyes met his, and for a moment, all the tension from previous encounters seemed to compress into that single, charged glance. Marcus exhaled slowly. "Thanks for being here." Taylor smiled faintly. "It's my job. But I guess sometimes I stick around for other reasons too." The words hung between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Every encounter with her seemed to pull him deeper into a world of temptation he wasn't ready to enter. As they stood together, a small crowd began to gather. Passers-by glanced at the scene, some concerned, some curious. The reality of their connection right here, in public, made Marcus acutely aware of how dangerous their closeness could be. Taylor, sensing his discomfort, leaned slightly closer. "Marcus," she said quietly, "I don't want to make this awkward, but I'm glad you're okay." His eyes met hers, searching for reassurance and finding more questions instead. He felt the tug of attraction, the thrill of danger, and the weight of responsibility all at once. I don't know how to feel," he admitted, his voice low. "I'm supposed to just move on, but it's hard." Taylor nodded slowly. "I know, it's hard for me too. But some things aren't about rules, they're about honesty. About noticing what's real, even when it's complicated." The intensity between them grew, and Marcus could feel it like electricity in the air. Every word, every glance, every subtle movement amplified the tension. He wanted to step closer, to let the attraction take over, but he stopped himself. Not because of fear, but because he knew the consequences. Then, suddenly, a voice called out from the crowd. Someone had noticed their closeness, misinterpreting the moment. Marcus turned to see a passerby giving them a questioning look. Taylor's eyes widened slightly, and she quickly stepped back, straightening her uniform. Marcus felt a rush of panic. The reality of the situation hit him. What if someone misunderstood? What if this escalated? He took a deep breath, regaining some control. "I should go before things get more complicated," he said quietly. Taylor nodded, though she didn't move away completely. "Yeah, maybe that's best," she agreed. Her eyes lingered on him, a mixture of longing and frustration. As Marcus walked toward his car, he couldn't help but glance back. Taylor was still there, standing tall, watching him leave. The connection between them had grown stronger, more dangerous, but it had also become undeniable. Driving home, Marcus felt his mind whirl. The close call had changed something. It wasn't just a simple attraction anymore, it was a force he couldn't ignore. And for Taylor, the encounter had the same effect. She knew that what they felt could lead to trouble, yet she couldn't deny it. By the time he reached home, Marcus was exhausted and conflicted. He knew he had to resist, to honor his commitments, but the memory of Taylor's eyes, her words, and the shared danger kept playing in his mind like a movie on repeat. That night, neither of them slept well. The city outside hummed quietly, unaware that two lives had brushed against each other in a way that would set the stage for decisions, temptations, and consequences neither was prepared for. And deep down, both Marcus and Taylor understood something simple yet terrifying. The close call wasn't just an accident. It was a spark, a warning, and a temptation all at once. The story between them was far from over, and the next chapter promised to be even more complicated. The days after the close call were tense. Marcus tried to act normal, but every little thing reminded him of Officer Taylor. The way her words lingered in his mind, the memory of her eyes, The subtle pull he felt whenever he thought about her, it was almost unbearable. He found himself walking a careful line between curiosity and caution, yet he knew it was only a matter of time before things got complicated. Taylor, too, felt the tension growing. She noticed him in town, on the streets, even outside the grocery store. Her heart raced whenever their paths crossed. She had always been professional, but Marcus had a way of breaking through that shield she carried. She told herself to be careful. She reminded herself he was married. But each encounter made her restraint weaker and her curiosity stronger. One evening, fate intervened again. Marcus had finished work late and decided to stop by a small cafe he often went to. He hoped for a quiet coffee, a little time to think, and maybe some control over his thoughts. As he walked inside, he froze. Taylor was there, sitting at a corner table, sipping a cup of tea, glancing out the window. She looked up, and their eyes met instantly. A charged silence passed between them. "Marcus," she said softly, standing up as he approached. "Fancy meeting you here." He swallowed, feeling his pulse quicken. "Yeah." "Fancy," he replied, trying to sound casual. They sat down, keeping a careful distance, though the tension was thick enough to touch. Words flowed between them, cautious but honest. Taylor shared small stories from her life, moments that showed vulnerability. Marcus responded with bits of his own truth, careful not to cross lines, yet unable to hide the pull he felt toward her. It was a delicate dance, each word, each glance, each subtle movement tested their boundaries. Marcus felt the magnetic tension, a combination of attraction and guilt. Taylor felt the same. Every laugh, every shared glance, every brush of hands across the table was a test of restraint. Suddenly, a notification on Taylor's phone broke the moment. She glanced at it and frowned slightly. I have to handle this," she said quietly, excusing herself. But as she got up, she hesitated, looking at Marcus with a soft, conflicted expression. Marcus's mind raced. Was she leaving to avoid temptation, or was she leaving because of it? He wanted to say something, to stop her, to ask her to stay. But he didn't. He knew that pushing now could change everything, and not necessarily for the better. As Taylor left, the cafe felt colder, emptier. Marcus sat there, heart pounding, thinking about what was happening between them. The risk was real now. Their connection wasn't just emotional, it was dangerous. Every encounter, every conversation, every glance brought them closer to a line they weren't supposed to cross. Meanwhile, outside, Taylor walked briskly, trying to shake off the thoughts that clung to her. She knew the consequences if anyone found out. Gossip, judgment, complications. And yet, she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward Marcus. She felt alive, but also terrified. Both of them realized something crucial. The temptation was growing stronger, and ignoring it would be impossible. The risk wasn't just about what they wanted, it was about what they could lose. Marcus had a family. Taylor had a career and a reputation. One wrong move could destroy everything. And yet, the tension persisted. Neither could resist thinking about the other. Every time their paths crossed, it was like a spark in a dry forest. One small touch could start a fire. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. The city lights outside his window blurred into streaks as he lay in bed, thinking about Taylor, thinking about the close call, thinking about the risk he couldn't stop taking. And somewhere, miles away, Taylor was doing the same, staring at her ceiling, heart racing, wondering when or if they would ever find a way to navigate the line between desire and responsibility. The risk had become real, tangible, unavoidable. And deep down, both knew that the next encounter would decide everything. The next morning, Marcus woke up with a heavy heart. The risk of the past few days weighed on him like a storm cloud. He had thought he could handle it, ignore the pull, focus on his responsibilities, but his mind kept wandering to Taylor. Her eyes, her smile, the way she made him feel alive and restless at the same time. Meanwhile, Taylor was already on patrol. She drove slowly through the streets, replaying their encounters in her head. She knew the boundaries, she knew the risks, yet she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. Every turn of the wheel, every passing car, reminded her of the connection that had grown stronger, more dangerous, and impossible to ignore. That evening, fate intervened again. Marcus had to attend a small work event, something routine, yet he felt the tension in every step. As he arrived, he noticed a familiar figure in the crowd. Taylor. She had come not as an officer this time, but as someone who had chosen to be near him. Their eyes met across the room. Time seemed to slow. Every laugh, every movement around them faded into the background. The connection they had tried to ignore was now undeniable. Marcus felt a rush of emotions, desire, guilt, curiosity, and fear all blending together in a whirlwind. Taylor approached him, her steps measured. "Marcus," she said softly, "we need to talk, alone." He nodded, feeling his heart race. They moved to a quiet corner, away from the crowd. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, Taylor spoke, her voice a mixture of honesty and longing. "I can't keep pretending I don't feel this," she said. "Every time we meet, it's like something bigger is happening. I know you're married. I know it's wrong. But I can't stop noticing you." Marcus took a deep breath. "I know, I feel it too," he admitted quietly. "But it's dangerous. I can't risk my family, my life, everything I've built. And yet, I can't deny it either." They stood there, inches apart, the tension almost unbearable. The pull between them was undeniable, but reality pressed down hard. Marcus's mind flashed to his wife, to his home, to the life he promised to protect. And yet, Taylor's presence felt like electricity in the air, impossible to ignore. Then came the twist. Across the room, someone from the work event glanced their way. Whispers began. Gossip, suspicion, judgment. The reality of their attraction wasn't just private anymore. It was exposed, fragile, dangerous. Taylor stepped back slightly, realizing the stakes. "Marcus, maybe this is too risky. Maybe we need to step away before it goes too far." Marcus nodded, a mix of relief and longing in his eyes. "Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't want to hurt anyone or anything." And just like that, they made the unspoken decision. They would part ways, at least publicly for now. The connection remained, the tension remained, but restraint was necessary. As Marcus left the event, he couldn't stop thinking about her. And Taylor, driving back through the night, replayed every word, every glance, every moment they had shared. Both knew that what they felt couldn't be erased, only paused. The story didn't end with a resolution of desire. It ended with awareness, with the knowledge that temptation, attraction, and risk were real, powerful forces that could not be ignored, but also could not always be acted upon. And somewhere, in the quiet streets of the city, Marcus and Taylor carried the memory of each encounter. A memory of sparks, tension, and the dangerous thrill of connection. Theirs was a story of attraction, restraint, and the difficult balance between what the heart wants and what the mind knows is right. As the night settled, both of them knew this. The risk had changed them, the tension had shaped them, and the spark between them would never truly fade. Fate might test them again, but for now they walked away, knowing that some stories are meant to linger in the heart, unresolved, unforgettable.